Anna, 25, lives in a rundown apartment complex on the outskirts of the city. The apartment is just 20 square meters, with an old bed, a small electric stove, and floor tiles that have faded with age. But it is her world, and that of her younger brother, Ben, a 10-year-old with a congenital heart defect. Their parents died in a car accident when Anna was just 18. Since then, she has become Ben's sister, mother, and sole guardian. With no relatives, no one to help, Anna learns to stand up and fight every day. She works at a small family restaurant on a busy street corner. Every morning, she wakes up at 5 a.m., prepares Ben's breakfast, and rides her bike to work. 12 hours straight, without stopping, without complaining, Anna greets customers with a smile, remembers the dishes that regulars love, and is always ready to help her colleagues when they are exhausted. The restaurant where she worked was not fancy, just a modest shop with a few wooden tables and a simple menu. But thanks to her diligence and kindness, she was loved by many customers. Some people often told the owner, "If it weren't for that little waitress, I probably would never come back." But behind that smile were long nights spent in front of hospital bills, calculating every penny so she could buy Ben's medicine. Every month, the cost of his treatment nearly swallowed up all her earnings. She had no time to dream of pretty dresses, lipstick, or dates. All she wanted was Ben's health and a roof that wouldn't leak when it rained. There were nights when Anna was so tired that she fell asleep right next to her brother while he was telling her a fairy tale. But the next morning, she still woke up on time, put on her apron, and smiled brightly. No one knew how many times she had to hold back her tears in the tiny bathroom behind those gentle eyes. Anna doesn't have close friends, nor does she often talk to anyone for long. Life has taught her to believe in herself, and sometimes to accept loneliness. It was a gray afternoon in early winter. The sky was dark, as if it was about to rain. The wind whistled through the cracks in the shop doors, carrying with it a biting cold. Outside, people hurriedly huddled in warm clothes, their steps hurried as if trying to escape the harsh weather. Inside the small restaurant where Anna worked, the atmosphere was also sluggish. The other employees stood huddled behind the counter, occasionally glancing out at the empty street. Anna, as usual, carefully wiped each table and arranged the chairs neatly. Even though the restaurant was empty, she did not let herself be negligent. She had a principle. No matter how small the task, it had to be done with all respect. Just as she was standing by the window, a light bell rang. The glass door opened and an elderly man, dressed in rags, entered. His frayed coat was soaked with rain, and his shoes were torn to the point that his socks were exposed. His white hair was hanging down, dripping water onto the floor. The whole place fell silent. A few eyes turned to look at him. Some frowned, some smiled, then looked away. A male employee whispered to his friend, "It must be the homeless beggar again." Anna heard clearly, but she said nothing. She walked quickly towards the old man, smiling warmly. "Hello, uncle. It's cold outside, isn't it? Come sit here and warm up," she said, pulling a chair closer to the fireplace. The old man hesitated, his eyes sweeping over the people watching him. I don't have any money," he said softly, his voice shaking with cold. Anna didn't hesitate. "It's okay. A cup of hot water and some soup will help you feel better. Consider today a special day." Then she turned away, leaving the old man confused and silently grateful. She made a cup of hot tea, reheated the chicken soup in the kitchen, and brought it out, placing it before him with a dry towel. "You can use it for now, and when you feel better, I'll bring you a towel to dry your hair," she said, still smiling gently, as if he were a VIP. The old man looked at her for a long time. His old hands were shaking as he held the bowl of soup, his eyes shining with genuine emotion. "What is your name?" he asked softly. "I am Anna." "Anna," the old man repeated as if he were carving the name into his heart. "You are a very kind girl. There are not many people like you in the world." Anna just smiled, avoiding his eyes in embarrassment. She was used to it, used to helping others without expecting anything in return. Because for her, if she could warm someone's heart, even just a little, that day was a good day. When the old man finished eating, the rain had not yet stopped. He stood up and bowed slightly in thanks. "You don't know what a great thing you have just done," he said. Anna was about to ask again, but he had already left, his limping gait blending into the misty rain outside. She stood at the door watching his figure disappear, her heart light as if she had just accomplished a good deed. To her, it was just a small act, but she had no idea, nor could she have imagined, that this encounter would be an irreversible turning point in her life. On the top floor of a glass building that sparkled with the city lights, Noah Bennett, or rather Ethan Bennett, whose real name few knew, sat brooding in his large, coldly opulent office. The room had floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over Manhattan, lit up at night, but the light outside could not dispel the pensive look in the young man's eyes. Ethan, 32 years old, self-made millionaire, founder of the high-end restaurant chain Bennett Cuisine, is known as a cold, quiet, strict, and extremely disciplined CEO. He doesn't like to waste time, hates sentimental things, and especially doesn't believe in selfless kindness. In his world, everything has a price, even emotions. But that night, he sat silently in front of his computer screen, watching over and over again a video clip from a security camera in a small restaurant. In the clip, a young girl with a disheveled apron and her hair tied back was handing a bowl of hot soup to an old man drenched in rain. No one in the restaurant paid any attention to him, except her. The angle wasn't clear, but her face, her eyes, her smile, the gentleness in her every gesture, made Ethan unable to look away. That old man was his father, Walter Bennett, a strict father who always hid his emotions and rarely showed weakness. But that day when he returned home, Walter trembled as he told his son the story of a poor waitress with the most beautiful heart he had ever met. Ethan nodded at first, but then he placed a napkin in front of him. On it, scribbled, "Thank you for coming. May you be warm and safe." It was the little note that Anna had slipped into his pocket as she saw him off, and he had kept it as a treasure. "You know, Ethan," Walter said softly, "when you get older, you see who is truly precious. That girl has nothing, but she has something that many rich people don't have, a sincere heart." His father's words kept repeating in Ethan's head for days afterward. Ethan didn't trust strangers. To him, the world was full of lies. But that clip, Anna's eyes, the silence with which she helped his father, was like the first crack that broke down the wall of indifference in his heart. He started to learn about her. It was easy for him. With just one call, he had Anna's personnel file from the diner where she worked. She was 25 years old, living in an old apartment building in Brooklyn, an orphan, raising a sick younger brother. She worked 12 hours a day, never took a vacation, had no relatives, had no debt, and had never asked for a raise. She never complained and always smiled. Ethan felt something strange creep up inside him. Not pity, but admiration. That admiration turned to curiosity and then to an inexplicable urge. He wanted to see her, but he couldn't show up as a millionaire. That would only make her wary. So Ethan decided to send out an invitation. A few days later, Anna received a cream-colored envelope delivered to the restaurant. There was no name on it, only a line in elegant black ink. "Please come to the Rosemont Hotel, VIP room on the 18th floor, Friday at 3 p.m. An important meeting awaits you." Anna stared at the invitation for a long moment. She was confused, her heart racing. No one had ever invited her to such a fancy hotel before. Was this a mistake or a joke? But then she thought of the old man's eyes the other day. There was something so real, so profound in that look. Could it be related? So at exactly 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, Anna put on the simplest dress she owned, a slightly worn navy blue dress, and went to the Rosemont Hotel. The hotel lobby took her breath away. The sparkling crystal chandeliers, the soft music, the faint scent of orchids in the air. It was like stepping out of another world, one Anna never thought she belonged to. A staff took her to the VIP room on the 18th floor. When the door opened, she couldn't believe her eyes. Standing before her was a tall young man in a neat gray suit, neatly combed brown hair, icy gray eyes, but his gaze was full of inner strength. The man approached, held out his hand, and said politely, "Hello, Anna. I'm Ethan." "Ethan," she repeated, confused. He nodded. "The son of the old man you helped the other day." Anna's eyes widened. Everything had happened so fast. Ethan smiled slightly, his first smile in days. My father rarely gets emotional, but he keeps talking about you. The atmosphere in the VIP room on the 18th floor seemed to quiet down as Anna and Ethan looked at each other. The pale yellow light from the high-class chandelier gently shone on her face, her skin pale from lack of sleep, her eyes dark from endless night shifts, but her gaze still shone with the familiar gentleness. Ethan looked at her silently for a few seconds. Not the way a man would look at a beautiful girl, but the way someone had found something precious in the chaos of the world. Thank you for coming, he said, his voice low and even. Anna nodded slightly, tightening her grip on her handbag as if to reassure herself. I still don't understand what's going on. Why was I invited here? And why me? Ethan bowed slightly, walking to the walnut table in the middle of the room. He poured her a cup of herbal tea, pushing it gently toward her. I know this is a little strange, but my father, the old man you helped that day, has never been so emotional with anyone, not even me. Anna was surprised, frowning slightly. I just did what anyone should do. Ethan smiled slightly, but there was something bitter in it. Wrong. You did something very few people can do anymore. My father cried, you know. A man who had lived through war, lost his fortune, been betrayed. He said you were the first person to make him cry, for being kind. Anna was confused, her eyes blinking rapidly. She didn't think that small action that day would leave such a deep impression. Ethan looked deep into her eyes, then said slowly, You are unlike anyone I have ever known. I have studied you, and don't worry, it is not an invasion. I just want to know how you made my father believe that there are still good people in this world. Anna was silent. An indescribable feeling rose within her. She was both moved and wary. This man was so different from the world she knew. He was the kind of person Anna thought she would never meet and never understand. I was just doing my job, she replied softly. If it had been anyone else, they would have done the same. Ethan tilted his head, his eyes softening. Number I have hundreds of employees in my restaurant chain. Not everyone acts like you. Not everyone puts compassion before profit. There was a pause. Then Ethan walked slowly to the filing cabinet at the side of the room and pulled out a thin, elegantly bound document. You know, we're opening a new restaurant. Not a fancy restaurant like the ones I usually open, but a community model where the less fortunate can have a decent meal, learn a trade, start over. A pilot model. Anna listened, her heart wavering slightly. Her eyes followed Ethan's hand as he flipped through the file. But I don't want to run it the traditional way. I don't want to put people in there who only know spreadsheets and profits. He paused, looking at her. I want people with hearts, people who understand hunger, cold, and the fear of being left behind. Ethan makes a shocking offer. I want you to be the new general manager for the restaurant we are about to open. Anna was stunned. She wondered if she had heard wrong. Her, a waitress who dropped out of high school to work? A person who had never set foot in business school? She laughed, embarrassed. You're kidding me, right? This is some kind of ethics test. Ethan didn't smile. His face was so serious that it made her heart clench. I'm not kidding. I can train you all you need, but I can't teach someone to have a heart like yours. Anna bowed her head, her heart in turmoil. Part of her wanted to run away from this room. Everything was so strange, so unreal. But another part was curious, a faint hope that maybe her life was actually turning a corner. But I don't know anything about running, she said softly. Ethan nodded. And I don't need someone who knows how to do sales reports. I need someone who knows how to make people feel seen and appreciated. His voice dropped, and there was something very real. I used to think money could solve everything, but that day, you made my father change his mind. And if he can change, then I want to try too. Anna looked up. Her eyes were glistening with tears, but not from weakness, but because for the first time in years, she felt trusted. After a long silence, she nodded slightly. I will try. Ethan smiled, not a smug smile, but a relieved one. He knew the journey ahead would not be easy, but he also knew They had just begun something that would change the lives of many. Anna never thought she would step into a world like this, one with shiny stainless steel kitchens, detailed blueprints, and executive meetings filled with terminology she was unfamiliar with. On her first day in the project management office, she sat at the corner of the table, her hands still shaking slightly as she held the pen. Around her were specialists, architects, financial advisors, all of them articulate, able to grasp the whole picture just by looking at the plan. As for her, a former waitress, she now had to take the lead, if only in name. But Anna did not give up. At night, she stayed up all night reading every page of documents Ethan gave her. Words like market analysis, human resource strategy, brand positioning overwhelmed her at first. But little by little, she learned to understand, to ask questions, to listen to people who were better than her without feeling inferior. Once, in an internal meeting, an advisor bluntly said, "She has never managed anything. Why put her in this position?" Anna bowed her head, silent. But Ethan did not. He looked straight at the other man and coldly replied, "Because she is the only one here who understands what it feels like to be hungry, to be despised, to be left behind. And that is what we want to change, right?" After that meeting, Anna cried, not because she was looked down on, but because for the first time in her life, someone stood up for her without asking for a reason. Ethan was still the same, calm, a bit distant, always keeping a safe distance from everyone around him. But Anna realized behind those eyes was a lonely man, a man who had suffered deep pain that no one knew about. One afternoon, after surveying the site for their new restaurant, Anna and Ethan sat down to rest in a small park nearby. It was still cold in New York in April, but the sunlight was gentle enough to make people feel comfortable. "You and Dad, it seems like there was something going on?" Anna asked softly without forcing. Ethan was silent for a moment. Then he sighed, his eyes looking into the distance, as if looking back to a very distant time in his memory. "When I was young, I saw my mother leave. She couldn't stand the poverty, couldn't stand a conservative, stubborn husband like my father. And I was angry with him for letting her go." His voice was low and even, without a tremor, but something broke between each word. "I threw myself into making money. I wanted to prove that I could live without him. But when I became successful, I didn't know where to start again." Anna was speechless. She did not expect that behind that perfect appearance was a heart full of wounds. And she understood, because she had also lost her mother and had been angry with her father throughout her adult years because of an unexpected accident. In the following days, Anna took the initiative to connect the old man, the old father, with Ethan more often. She often invited him to the construction site, inviting him to contribute ideas for the restaurant design. At first, Ethan just stood from afar, quietly observing. But gradually, the short conversations between father and son began to resume. One day, Ethan stood still, watching his father laugh and talk with the young chefs trained in the refugee camp. In his eyes, Anna saw a softness she had never seen before. "I didn't think he could still smile like that," Ethan said, his eyes never leaving his father. Anna smiled slightly. "It's just, you need someone to see that you're not forgotten." From then on, Ethan and his father began to mend their ways. Short conversations became long ones. Silences turned into laughter. Ethan learned to apologize, and his father learned to let go. During her work, Anna gradually proved her ability and dedication. She is no longer the clumsy waitress she once was. She knows how to talk to sponsors, how to motivate a team of employees under pressure to meet deadlines. She stands firm in the face of challenges, with her heart. Ethan, initially cold, gradually opens up, seeing in Anna a strong, inspiring woman. Thanks to Anna, father and son were reconciled and no longer had conflicts. The story ends in the warm light of the restaurant's opening party, a luxurious yet humane space. Large photos of the staff are hung along the hallway. Ex-convicts, homeless people, unemployed single mothers. Now they stand firmly in neat uniforms, their eyes shining as if they have just found a place to belong. Anna stood quietly in the midst of the bustling scene. She did not stand out, but anyone who looked at her could tell that she was the soul of the place. Her dress was simple, Her hair was tied low, and she held an unfinished glass of wine. But her eyes were something that made it difficult for people to look away. Ethan approached from afar. He was no longer the cold billionaire from the first day they met. His eyes were softer, his shoulders less tense. He stopped in front of her, amidst soft music and yellow lights that filled the glass room. He reached out and took her hand. Not hastily, not ostentatiously, but respectfully. She looked up at him, a smile flickering. Ethan leaned down, his voice deep, as if every word was carefully considered. You didn't just change my father's life. You changed mine. And if I had to choose again, out of a million paths, I would still choose the one with you. Anna looked at him, her lips pressed together, her eyes flashing with the emotion she had tried to hide for so long. Without further words in that moment, amidst the music, the laughter, and the twinkling lights like stars, there were only the two of them. One had lost faith, the other had lost direction, now finding each other at the right time, in the right way. Thank you for following the story. If you love emotional and surprising stories like this, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next journey. See you in the next video. Love.